is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. We want to just say thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. And remember, we're free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure that you leave us a 5-star review. You know why you need to do that? Because everybody and their mama will find out about the greatness that we have going right here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Because the people that have subscribed, they know about what's going on. Because we're almost at 4,000 subscribers. We need you all to keep on subscribing. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting on? Your life depending on making sure you make that final decision, because we are here just for you. But coming up on the show today, I really feel like, T, that the Atlanta Braves can catch the New York Mets right here and right now. And did Arthur Smith kind of hint at Drake London being available for the Saints on Sunday? Ooh, and last but not least, and for the culture, people just will always find a way to hate. Man, golly, get a life. We'll talk about all that. But first, the Braves over the weekend, they swept the Marlins. That was something that we expected them to do. We talked about that on Friday, T. And I think that for them to sweep the Marlins, I think that there's a lot at stake right now, especially since the Braves are only one game back in the National League East.
Yes. This 8-game road trip is going to be critical for the Braves because, it is an opportunity for them to finally get over the hump with the Mets. Now, it's going to be a daunting task because you do have the Mets with a far easier schedule. When you look at those last 28 games of the season, right, that schedule is still looming because, at the end of the day, we're talking about a team in the Mets that literally has to play the Braves and the Brewers. That's it. So about 7 of those 28 games are with opponents that are viable opponents. The Braves, however, have a little bit of a difficult stretch, even in this road trip, because, of course, they're taking on the Mariners, and the Mariners are rolling. So I just hope that the Braves can maybe continue their winning ways. We're talking about 6 games in a row. Going for their 6th game in a row. I think that if they can just stay focused, and we can keep seeing out of their pitching staff, the starting pitching staff, Kyle Wright, seeing what we saw in him with that last outing, and also maybe a little, and I don't even know if you call it revenge, because getting away from the Oakland A's is not a bad thing for Matt Olson, right? But maybe just a little bit of a revenge tour, kind of looking like his last game. Remember, they had the 2-game series back in June, and the second game Matt had was a really nice game, 2 for 5, 1 RBI. So I feel like when some of those things kind of happen, and Matt's been on a tear as well of recent, then those are things that bode well for the Braves. And of course, as well, anytime you continue to see the rookies do what they're doing, and Ronald Acuna Jr. still looking like he looks, assuming, Jarvis, that he's maybe DHing tonight and he'll get the day off tomorrow for the day game. I think the start that trip will bode well for the Braves.
No doubt about it. And to add to kind of like the whole Met situation, here's why I think that the Braves can catch them, because just looking from the other side, not giving all the thing that you laid out, I totally agree as far as what the Braves are doing right now. They're rolling right now. I think they're in a really good space. But just from the Mets standpoint, now just go back a little bit. They just pulled Max Scherzer early because he was having some left side issues, right? Yes. That's one thing. That's one strike. And the second strike is they're kind of wondering whether or not how far they're going to push Jacob deGrom as far as what he's going to do. So not necessarily what the Braves are doing is the reason why I believe. It's because I think the Mets are finally maybe potentially starting to Met at a time that, is a very bad time, because like you mentioned, we have less than 30 games left in the season. And I think that this is something that is going to affect the Mets, because without those 2 guys that I just named, Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer, the Mets are kind of, they're okay. But when those 2 guys are on the mound, they are a very scary baseball team. And I think that the Braves have a big opportunity right here, starting out with the Oakland A's, 9:40, his first pitch, Kyle Wright on the mound, a guy who's going for 20 games. So more than enough incentive to go out there and show well tonight on the West Coast. But I think that there is another team that played at Mercedes-Benz. We talked about the Falcons playing at Mercedes-Benz on Sunday. The Georgia Bulldogs played against the Oregon Ducks, and they look different. We'll talk about that, but before we do that, please tell the folks about what Built Bar got going on for the Locked On listeners and viewers.
Yeah, and so like you said, with the Mets, there are some things that are showing us a downward trend. Their pitching staff, the fact that they did met against the Nats. So that is also something that's a good look on the baseball side. And on the side of your health, a good look is Built.com. So
Yes.
Built has come back. You know them. They invented the healthy yet easy to go down, tasty snack. Guess what? They are back. They've done it again. This time it's cookie dough chunk puffs. And how many of us don't like cookie
Ooh.
dough? You kind of know that
Yes,
from your
Lord.
childhood, right? So it's a
Yes.
light and chewy texture, just like you remember from when you were a kid. It's real cookie dough chunks. And of course, it's 100% real chocolate. But what we always like to tell you about here as Jarvis and I continue on our health journeys is when you can get a Built Bar or a chunk puff that's 116 calories, but you can also get 15 grams of protein, that is a win-win. So again, you're looking at collagen protein, one of the best proteins that's available because it absorbs things so efficiently. So again, that's good for you. And listen, we're all looking for healthy snacks. So that's a healthy snack, whether you're coming from your workout or whether you are trying to get through that ATL traffic, this is for you. So how can you grab it? You go to Built.com, go ahead and put your order in for that box of cookie dough chunk puffs. And as always, use that code locked 15% to get that 15% off your order. That's Built.com using the promo code locked on 15. Your body will thank you.
Yes, they will thank you and continue to thank you as you go through your journey as well. Now, the Stetson Bennett has been on a journey, right? He was talked about very badly by me. I was one of those folks that talked about Stetson Bennett. Yeah, put JT Daniels in the game. Yeah, he shut me up. Won national championship last year, and I think that was one of the things we talked about what we were looking for. Like, okay, what can a Stetson Bennett look like in year two at going into the season? As the starter. This was his first time doing that, and he absolutely killed it. Throwing for over 360 some yards, with 3 touchdowns, and the offense was so efficient. They went 9 for 9 on third downs before Oregon figured out a way to stop them on third down. So, and it was just an absolute onslaught. And this offense looks very, very different.
Yeah, it does. And what I liked about it is when you think about the fact that Georgia is essentially still RBU and
Right.
the 3 top running backs combined. Now, the team had 132 yards total rushing. But the important thing is when you look at Kendall Milton and you look at Kenny McIntosh, they were under 100 yards as a group. So
Right.
if Georgia's able to do this kind of damage in the passing game as their running game is kind of getting up to speed, I think that's a good look. And as well, you look at, and we were thinking about that O-line, right? We said, that might be an advantage because that is a group where you do return many more starters in the trenches on the O-line side for Georgia than you do on the defensive side for Georgia. But guess what? That defense showed all the way out. Malachi Starks is the truth as a
Come
freshman.
on now. True
The
freshman.
SEC co-defensive player of the week, Chris Smith, was the truth. And they showed you that even though it may not be, in the complete stats, maybe in terms of getting a sack or what have you, or getting multiple sacks or those kinds of pressures on the QB, they gave Bo Nix the business. They
Right.
still gave him the business. So yeah, when you're not doing the things that we're accustomed to you doing, running roughshod over an offense or a defense, if you will, or on defense, just literally bulldozing your way through, and you're still 59 points ahead. I chuckled because I said you and I thought it was going to be deep into the third or fourth quarter before they could even cover the spread. Man,
Man, look. They was like, no, we're gonna get this out of the way in the first half. Don't even worry about it. We got you. that's the thing about another thing coming into the season. The big thing was like, okay, how can you? Because a lot of times when you win a national championship in college football, like it is very hard to repeat. But I think that when this team given that how so many people left on defense, right? We talked about how great they look, but still there you still have to reinvent yourself, right? Because what's new, what's different from the team the year before? Super uber dominant defense last year, right? But this year, Todd Monken opened up the playbook because you talked about the running backs, not getting 100 yards, but shoot, McIntosh caught 9 for 117.
Yeah, 117,
and he led the team. So
wait a minute.
That's a whole nother element you have to be concerned about as a defense. I think Todd Monken put the rest of the SEC and the rest of the country on notice. And I think that is something that you got to consider when you talk about these rankings now. Now Georgia number 3, but from what I saw, based off the team that they played and the preseason rankings, this don't look like the third-ranked team overall to me. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think at least they'll jump Ohio State. At least I think they should jump Ohio State. The only way they don't is if the pundits that vote in the AP poll consider the fact that Ohio State beat a ranked team, right? And so that might be, the deciding factor. And of course, Alabama, you're number 1, and then you shut a team out 55-0. Gonna kind of be hard to overtake you, if you will. So I wouldn't be shocked if Georgia stays in the number 3 spot. But if you ask me where I think they should land, number 2, no question.
And you know what? Georgia made Oregon look like they were unranked, but they were 11th coming into the season.
And I should say, like a top, but when it's Notre Dame, you're talking about the top 6. Let me rephrase that. When you're talking about the top 6, you're talking about the teams that are essentially at the beginning of the season looking to be the contenders to get to the college football playoff.
Yeah, right.
That still is that could potentially rank, and that's Notre Dame, which essentially, as an independent, still is a higher thing than if you're Pac-12. Let's just be real.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and that's the thing that goes into the voting every year. We always wonder, like, all right, how did Notre Dame get this high again? But it wasn't all good. At Mercedes-Benz, yesterday, Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, they started off okay. From a score standpoint, they held it down. DJU looked very DJU like, but unfortunately, Georgia Tech falls to Clemson. Now, the one thing that, I said that, I wanted to kind of see from the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, even though I wasn't really expecting them to be to win the game, but you still want to see some type of progression, and I just haven't really seen that. Jeff Sims looked exactly like Jeff Sims play. You'll see a couple play, oh, wow, that's great play. And the next thing you know, oh, wow, what happened? And that could be within back-to-back plays. So,
yes.
So my whole thing is, Jeff Collins came in with a lot of hoopla, a lot of promises. He made a lot of promises but it just seems like this is the same team that we saw towards the end of Paul Johnson's tenure as the head coach of this team.
Agreed. And when you think about the fact that they played Clemson last year extremely close, and we know that Clemson has reloaded. They learned their lesson from last year, and they're like,
yeah.
But if you're looking at it from just a pure perspective of competing, well, Georgia Tech, you supposedly got better too. So if they got better, even if it's exponentially better, and you got better, but it wasn't exponential, 41-10, that's a 31-point gap. You had about a 3-point gap last year against Clemson. So to me, yes, that seems like a Tech is going to Tech, and I hate it because we all love Jeff Collins, but at the end of the day, this is one of those situations, Jarvis. Well, I'll be honest with you. I said to someone just last night, Jeff Collins may not make it through the season.
Yeah, I talked to some people, some alumni who followed that team very, very closely, and they said that it is on the table that he could get fired during the season. That hopefully that's not the case, but like I said, at the end of the day, it's all about the results. Speaking of results, the Atlanta Falcons drafted Drake London with the 8th overall pick in this year's draft. And we may have got word that he may see the field. We'll talk about all that next right here on ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and T, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta.